Hello everyone! I would like to introduce you to a Project Carbon, an experimental AI agent to write code on behalf of you. In previous video, I was demonstrating capabilities of ChatGPT making simple changes to code. I was uploading zipped file with code and asking ChatGPT to work on that code. I figured out that ChatGPT was doing the job very well. Next, I said I was going to write a GitHub action that will automatically create pull requests with code changes based on the requirements described in issues. So you can request new feature for your project by creating an issue in GitHub that will trigger GitHub action, which will query ChatGPT to implement such new feature, producing a PR for you to review. Before I go into the writing the GitHub action, I need to have some sort of interface between GitHub action and ChatGPT. I also need to think where I'm gonna store in user data such as association of issue ID, PR ID, and ChatGPT conversation. That will allow to maintain a context. So if you update your issue or PR in future, ChatGPT will continue from the point where you left. To store such data, I'm going to use AWS Simple Storage Service. Let's go into the configuration file. This project is done with a Python language and it's called Carbon. It uses the .env file. We can find an example of .env file here. As you can see, um, the settings are following: AWS bucket name, access key, and secret key in order to access the objects in the S3. Um, Also settings for OpenAI, such as OpenAI key. There is a project specific, Carbon specific settings, such as like your project name, the model. We're gonna use GPT 4.0, specific instructions, Carbon working directory where your code will be stored, Carbon project file name, that's a file name in the work directory to the zipped project, and meta file name, which is a JSON file containing the meta information as the output of interaction with ChatGPT. Also, there are specific request settings such as request, issue ID, PR ID, but those parameters can be passed to the program when you run that. So in order to set up this project, you need to clone it, create a virtual environment in Python, install Python dependencies, and check out the project you're going to be working with in the work directory. So I'm going to be working with the Flask boilerplate project, which is a simple Python application running in Docker container. It has only one handler to listen on the port and output. We're going to be adding more handlers to that project as an experiment. And I have this project stored in the work directory. I have checked out, and now I'm going to be running the commands. As you can see, there are multiple commands. Those commands to be triggered when something happens in the GitHub. So in future, they will be triggered by the GitHub action. For example, when user creates an issue, the create issue command will be run. The issue ID and the issue request will be passed along. And the Carbon will query ChatGPT in order to make changes. It will store issue ID for the future conversation. At that point, when the processing is done, the GitHub action will create a pull request, and in order for us to know the association between the issue ID and the pull request ID, we're going to map that, running the app map PR command. And then there are additional commands that will be triggered on issue update or PR update. For example, if you want to request additional changes and there are some debugging commands for retrieving issues in PR and deleting issues in PR. We don't really need them. So I'm gonna simulate what user does and what GitHub action does. Again, last time when I was running the um, Carbon, the Chat GPT, the OpenAI wasn't able to provide the expected output. Sometimes it does, sometimes it not. Usually I'm expecting to file zip file and JSON file. The zip file will contain the zipped project, and the JSON file will contain the metadata like the brief summary of changes and the commit message. Sometimes it returns only one file, sometimes no files. I've been struggling with that, trying to figure out the best instruction, but it doesn't always work. So actually, in the future, I'm considering trying like a swapping like a OpenAI with something different like DeepSeek or some other model. But let's try. If it works, it works. If not, then I'm gonna continue to the next part of the video. So first thing that we need to do is to zip the project. So we have the um, like a project store in the work directory. Let's zip it. We're going to exclude some Git directories and Python cache directories. We don't really need to pass that. And now we're going to run the Carbon, asking to add a new route, like a new handler. Listen on the /example path to output hello message as an example. So let's run it. Let's try. It's going to take a while. In the meantime, as you can see, I'm using the Cursor IDE, which is quite similar to VS Code, but what I can say, it does the AI part very nicely. This is AI IDE, so it has like integration with different models, and it can speed up and boost your creativity. I actually used Carbon, the Cursor to write most of the Carbon code, and I can say it does it pretty nicely. A couple of times I was asking the ChatGPT itself, here is the output that I'm getting from OpenAI. I'm expecting this and this. What's wrong? And ChatGPT was able to suggest me a couple of changes. I implemented that. I thought it worked, but today I've been running that. It didn't work out, so we'll see. We'll see what's gonna happen. I'm expecting two files to be added: .zip and JSON file into the work directory. And for some reason today it's like taken really long amount of time. Usually it works faster. Maybe there are some changes, maybe related to ChatGPT version 4.5 model being released, or like people as always get an interest and try using the OpenAI again and again, and as a result we can see a little slowdown in the running that. This project is a Python based, and you can see there are different files such as config, AI, and run .py. So basically the config read and validation is done in that file. It supports various parameters based on the command. There are also manipulation of config, which reads config and saves it in the S3 bucket. The EI code is actually all the code that does the communication with ChatGPT, such as creating an assistant, uploading file, creating threads, updating threads, and it implements different like our logic of that commands, what it's supposed to do, and it also saves config when needed. Yeah, and the run.py file, which is actually implementation of the command. So yeah, so we got the output. Let's see um, what it does. So it says like output metadata JSON and another file output, but this file, the second file sometimes not being read correctly. Yeah, we can see this output JSON file is like expected commit message in JSON format, like add example route to return hello world message, and the extended details what's going to be added to the PR. This is the copy of that file. We save all files. For some reason, the zip file hasn't been saved, so I'm actually thinking to maybe use another model or maybe use some sort of layer in between my program and the AI part, so it would be possible to use and try different models. I heard that the DeepSeek provides kind of similar API, but I would rather use the universal layer in between so the models could be easily swapped. So this, method is one more step closer to its completion. Yeah, and the next thing I'm going to be working is adding this layer, trying different models, and after I will be creating the GitHub action. So all actions will be performed using GitHub UI. We no longer need to use command line. The actual development can happen in the GitHub. And additionally, what can be added is the like running tests as part of the integration and providing results back, test results back, so um, the AI model can fix any issues related to the failed tests. I'm very excited to see the completing of that part of the project, and hopefully next time I can show a demo in which I'll be using the GitHub rather than running the simulation. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a great day.